Good morning, dear students. Welcome to our English course lecture, Level 2, the pre-intermediate book. As you know that we have finished with the beginner's level for the first book, and now we are going to continue by dealing with the pre-intermediate new Headway Plus level. This is the 6th lecture for the first stage. Here we have the link that you can find the book to download it through the internet, and this is the face page of the book. We are going to deal with these topics. We are going to start with Unit 4 by dealing with some expressions like some, any, few, little, and a lot of. And then we are going to move to Unit 5, dealing with verb patterns, and we have some exercises for that. After that, we are going to deal with Unit 6 to see what comparative and superlative adjectives, and we are going to deal with the practice number 6. Also, we are going to deal with synonyms and antonyms and the practice 1 on page 52. So let's start with Unit 4. As you see here, we have some, any, a little, a few. These expressions are used to express a quantity, or to say or to ask if you have a quantity of something or not. But we have to differentiate among the use of these expressions. First of all, we have some. Some is used in affirmative sentences and also when asking or offering something, while any, it is used in a negative or interrogative sentences. This is the difference between some and any. With a few, the matter is different, since a few it's used with countable nouns. For example, we have a few apples. Few means a small number, and it is used with countable nouns. A little, it is used with non-countable nouns. A little cheese, for example. But a little here means a small amount, but it is used also with non-countable or uncountable nouns. Here we have examples to see the affirmative and the negative and the interrogative cases for these expressions. For number 1, we have, there are some apples in the bowl. When we want to make it negative, the sentence would be, there are not any apples. So you notice that we change some into any because we are changing the affirmative into negative. With the interrogative, we are going to say, are there any apples? Are there any apples? So here we have any also to be used instead of some because we have an interrogative or a question sentence. The next example is, there are a few apples. There are a few apples. The use of a few here with the affirmative sentence would be, there are not many apples in the negative one. So we changed a few to be many here because a few is the opposite of many, but they are keep using with the countable nouns. The same way we have with the interrogative, as we are going to say, are there many apples? Are there many apples? The last example is, there is a little cheese. There is a little cheese. So a little here, it is used with affirmative sentence with non-countable nouns. So we are going to change it when we want to make a negative sentence by saying, there is not many, or sorry, there is not much cheese here. There is not much cheese. The same way with the interrogative sentence, is there much cheese? Is there much cheese? Here we have a note, and you have to notice that when asking or offering something, when we have an indirect question, which is the purpose of using it to ask or offer something, as we are going to say, can I have, or would you like some coffee? So this is a request, an indirect request in a form of a question. So here we didn't use any as usual, but we use some because the sentence contains an offer or an request. Now we are going to move to the expression of a lot of. A lot of, much, and many are used to talk about quantities, amounts, and degrees. To start with a lot of, it can be used in all sentences, whether they are affirmative, negative, and interrogative. So, with both countable and uncountable nouns. So, as you see here, we have no restriction in the use of a lot. We can use it with countable, uncountable, affirmative, negative, and interrogative. So we have to notice that here we learned a lot of new English words. In this sentence we have words. This is the countable noun, and we are going to use a lot of with the affirmative sentence with the countable nouns. The second one says, we didn't learn a lot of grammar. We didn't learn a lot of grammar. So a lot of here, it is used with negative and with non-countable noun, which is the grammar. The last one says, did you learn a lot of English expressions? Did you learn a lot of English expressions? Here we have a lot of that is used with interrogative sentence and with countable nouns. There is hardly any difference between a lot of and lots of. We have to notice this because lots of is slightly more informal. So when we are going to talk, we are going to decide that through the situation, whether it is formal or informal. We have the new owner made a lot of money of the stock market. So we use here a lot of in a formal situation. Child has got a lot of money and he is generous with it. But with a lot without of, it means a great deal. So a lot is not followed by a noun. We can use a lot without of without a noun to be followed. So we have here, Tom knows a lot of vocabulary. So we have of, so we used a noun after that. But when we are going to say Charlie is talkative, so he talks a lot. We used a lot without of and without a noun to be followed. Moving to much and many. Much, as you know, it is used with singular, non-countable noun. For example, we have much English. I don't know much English yet. Do you get much homework to do? Since homework, it is non-countable noun. With many, we have the plural countable noun to be used with. For example, many words, I don't know, or I don't know many words yet. Here we have also with the interrogative sentence, do you get many exercises to do? Do you get many exercises to do? So here is the difference between many and much. Much is used with non-countable, while many it is used with countable noun. Much and many are more commonly used in negative and interrogative sentences. They are rarely used in affirmative sentences, except if they begin a sentence. So the general rule for many and much is to be used with negative and interrogative. But the exception here we have, it can be used with affirmative sentence, but in a condition that the sentence will start with many and much. So as you see in these examples, many people believe all they hear. So the sentence starts with many. The other example, much of what was said was confusing. As you say, here we have much. The sentence starts with it, so it can be used in this way. Now we are going to move to a practice for discussing grammar. This practice is found on page 31 in your book. So here we have 3 different exercises. The first one, to complete the sentence with some or any. As you say, we have number 1, have you got / brothers or sisters? So the suitable word to be used, or the suitable expression to be used here is any. Since we have brothers and sisters, this is the countable noun. With number 1, we don't need olive oil. So the oil is what? Non-countable. So also we have a negative sentence, so we're going to use any. With number 3, we have, here are slash letters for you. As you see, here we have affirmative sentence and the noun letters. It is the countable noun, so we are going to use some. Number 4, I need slash money. So it is affirmative and we have money here. I'm going to say I need some money. Number 5, is there petrol in the car? This is the interrogative sentence and we have petrol, the non-countable noun, so we're going to use any. Moving to number 2, and we're going to complete the sentences with much or many. As you know, the differences between much and many. Much with non-countable, many with countable nouns. First sentence says, have you got slash homework? So you notice that homework is non-countable, so we are going to use much. With number 2, we have, we don't need eggs, just half a dozen. So eggs here is countable, so we are going to use many. Number 3, is there slash traffic in your country or in your town? So the traffic, non-countable, we are going to use much here. With number 4, I don't know slash student in this class. Students, the countable nouns, and we are going to use many. We are just to notice that we can differentiate between the countable and non-countable noun, that each countable noun ends with s. I mean, it can be in a plural form, so we can differentiate through the examples here. 5, how slash people live in your house? We have people, we can count people, so we are going to use many. The last exercise, complete the sentence with a little, a few, or a lot. So the difference between these 3 expressions is a lot to be used with non-countable, a few with countable and means a small number, and a lot to be used with affirmative, negative, interrogative, countable and non-countable noun. As we said, it doesn't have restrictions in its use. Number 1, I have slash clause of friends, 2 or 3. So the solution for this is to use a few because we have a small number. It is 2 or 3 and we have countable nouns, friends. Number 2, he has slash money. He is a millionaire. So I think the answer is to be a lot of. Number 3, do you take sugar in coffee? Just slash half a spoon. Okay, so it is a little. 4, have you got slash CDs? The answer, hundreds. So number 4, the answer would be a lot of because we have a large number. With 5, I will be ready in, and this is a common sentence to be used, I will be ready in a few minutes. Number 6, she speaks good Spanish, but only slash Russian. So we are going to use a little because it is non-countable noun and we have a small number. This is the meaning that this sentence contains. So we have finished with the quantity expressions that are used in this chapter. Moving to a new unit, Unit 5, and we have the verb pattern. The verb pattern number 1, we have just to have a small information about it. Sometimes in a sentence, one verb follows another. So we are used to make sentences that contains one verb, but with verb pattern, when we are going to say sentences that include more than one verb. For example, we want to buy a new car. So in this example, we have 2 verbs. They are want and we have buy. So this is the rule. The first verb is want and the second verb is buy. The verb patterns are dependent on the first verb. So the verb pattern, it's to be focused on the first verb, and what is followed, it would be, we are free just to choose the verb. So we are restricted only with the first verb because we have a restricted number of verb patterns. Also, we have many types of pattern. We are going to discuss that. here. We have verb plus to plus verb infinitive. So as you see here, we have hope, manage, tend, want, decide, need, and seem. And with each sentence, we have an example. For the first verb hope, we have, I hope to see you next year. I hope to see you next year. So you notice that we have hope. This is the verb partner to be followed by to and with the second verb, which is see. Manage. He managed to find a new house. So managed followed by to and with the second verb, which is find. Older people tend to need less sleep. So here we have tend and followed by to and with the second verb. With wants, he wants to buy a new car. Wants and buy. With decide, she decided to meet him. She decided to meet him. So we have decided and meet. Need, I need to go. And with seem, I seemed to sleep well last night. So the second type of verb pattern, we have verb to be followed by a verb which include ing form. The verb that are included in this slot are keep, enjoy, suggest, and try. So we are usually say she keeps going on, she never gives up. So keep and going. The second verb must include the ing. Enjoy, she enjoys playing football. She enjoys playing football. As you see, here we have enjoy and playing. Two verbs. I suggest visiting him at night. I suggest visiting him at night. So we have suggest, the first verb, which is the pattern, and we have the second verb that it must include the ing. With the try, we tried eating sushi. We tried eating sushi. We have two verbs, try and eat. Also, we have to pay attention for these verbs because they are having what the prepositions. For example, we have think about, we have succeeded in, we have look forward to, and talk about. For the first sentence, we have he is thinking about changing his job. You see here we have changing, the ing verb. It is preceded by thinking about. So thinking about must be followed by ing verb. She succeeded in playing tennis. She succeeded in playing tennis. Succeeded in followed by ing verb. I'm looking forward to meeting him. You have to pay attention for this verb because we used to use to followed by infinitive verb that doesn't have any addition, ings or etc. But with this common use of verb, look forward to must be followed with ing. Even we have a contrast that to is preceded, but we are going to use ing verb here. Talk about, they talked about traveling to London, so talked about and ing verb. The final verbs we have here, like and hate. Like and hate. So do you see here we have two cases and both are correct, whether to say I like to swim or I like swimming. Both are correct to use like followed by to or to use like followed by ing verb. The same thing is with hate, as we say I hate to tell you this or I hate flying. So we can say hate can be followed by to plus infinitive verb or hate plus ing verb. Now we are going to make the practice that concerning this skill. So the practice will be on page 38 in your book, and what is required here just in these sentences, one or two verbs are correct, but not all the three. So each sentence has three options. We are going just to tick what can be suitable or correct for the sentence, if it is one choice or two choices, but not all the three. So we have the first one, to live in a hot country. We can say I want, or I enjoy, or I'd like. The answer will be I want to live in a hot country. So it is A and it is C. I'd like to live in a hot country. You cannot say I enjoy because, as we said, enjoy can be followed by ing verb. Number 2, we have going to Italy for our holidays. So what is correct to use? We are hoping, or we are thinking of, or we like. So the answer will be we are thinking of, because it is followed by ing verb, which is going, and also to use we like going to Italy for our holiday, because like, as we said, it is followed by ing verb. Number 3, go home early tonight. So we can say I want, I like, or I can. The answer will be C. I can go home early tonight. Number 4, I hope, or I'd like, or I am looking forward to see you again soon. The answer would be I hope to see you again soon, and I'd like to see you again soon. We cannot use see, I'm looking forward, because as you remember that we have to use seeing here. Do you want, or do you enjoy, or do you like learning English? The answer would be enjoy. Do you enjoy learning English? And do you like learning English? Because these two verbs are used to be followed by ing verb. The last example is having a few days off soon. So the best answer would be we are thinking of having a few days off soon, but not we'd love to, because it is not suitable. And we are going to use C also, that is correct, by saying we are looking forward to having a few days off soon. This practice, you can find it in your book on page 39. Now we have to move to Unit 6, and this is the final unit for this lecture. This unit was focusing on the use of adjectives. So when we want to ask for something and to have an idea about the characteristics or the features of something or someone, we're going to say, what is it like? What is it like? So we use what is like to ask for a description of someone or something. For example, their appearance, their character, or their behavior. And by the way, you have to notice that we cannot say what does it like, because here the meaning will be different. When we are going to say what does it like, it means what does it love. But what is like, give me a description. Here we have an example. What's her new house like? So I'm asking about the features. Give me a description of her new house. The answer would be, it is a modern one, quite big, with a nice garden. So modern, big, and nice. These features or these adjectives describe the new house. We have also, what's your new teacher like? What's your new teacher like? We have what is the subject plus like. So he is nice, he's very good looking, but he is quite strict. We have nice, good looking, and strict, the three adjectives that describe the new teacher. Okay, so with the comparative and superlative adjectives, we also have to pay attention for this topic, since we are commonly using this. One way to describe nouns, people, objects, animals, etc. is by comparing them to something else. Here we have two things, or two people, two objects to be compared. So we are going to use the comparative degree of the adjective. And we have to notice for the adjective that are just composed of one syllable, we are going to add the ER to the end of the adjective. As you see here, this example, his cat is larger than my dog. His cat is larger than my dog. So we are comparing between the cat and the dog. So we used larger, the comparative degree, by adding er because we have the adjective large, which is composed of one syllable. The second example is, she is 2 years older than me. I'm comparing myself with her. So concerning the age, I'm going to say she is 2 years older than me. With older, here we have the adjective that contain the comparative degree using the er at the end of the adjective and followed by them. Okay, concerning the adjectives that consist of more than one syllable, we use more to make comparatives for most two-syllable adjectives and for all adjectives with 3 syllables or more. As you see here, we have the movie is more exciting than the previous one. When we are going to talk about a movie, to compare it with the previous one, we are going to say it is more exciting. We use more because we have exciting consists of more than one syllable, and we mean by syllable the number of the vowel sound. When we say the word, for example, we have large, means it contains of one syllable. With more exciting, so we have more than one syllable. My friends are more interested in sport than me. Here the adjective interested. And we use more here before the adjective because interested consists of more than one syllable. Okay, from the comparative to superlative degree, we have the difference here. When we have more than one things, we are likely use words and phrases like smallest, biggest, tallest, most interesting, and most beautiful. So with the comparative, we are comparing between 2 things, while with the superlative, we are going to make a comparison between one thing and to make him superior to a group. So it is not a limited number. If the adjective is composed of one syllable, the est is to be added at the end. We are going to use est at the end of the adjective. As you see here, we have the example. Mary is the eldest of the 4 sisters. Now we are comparing Mary with the 4 sisters. So we are not comparing Mary with one sister or one thing. No, but we are going to compare it with a group of her sister. When the adjective is composed of more than one syllable, most is to be added before the adjective. So most to be used here when the syllable or the sentence, the adjective sentence contains of more than one syllable. His third book was the most interesting. His third book was the most interesting. Interesting here, the adjective that composed of more than one syllable. We use most here to make the superlative degree of the adjective. As you know, for each rule there is irregularities. With this topic, we have irregularities also. English has a few adjectives whose comparative and superlative forms are irregular. So these 3 adjectives cannot accept the addition of er or more or most, but they have their own rules. As you see here, we have good, the comparative better, and the superlative would be best. With bad, we have worse for the comparative and worst for the superlative. Far, we can say farther with the a and further with the u. Both are correct with the comparative, and farthest or farthest for the superlative degree. Here we have just to pay attention for the use of these irregularities. Okay, this is what is concerned with the showing differences between adjectives. But when we are going to show the similarities between the adjectives, we are going to use as. So the rule of this is we use as plus adjective plus as to make comparisons when the thing are comparing are equal in some way. So we are behind showing the similarities. Instead of differences, we are going to use the rule of as. Look to these examples. My cooking is as good as yours. So I'm comparing my cooking with yours. So I will say my cooking is as good as yours. The weather this summer is as bad as last year. So we are comparing the weather of this summer with the weather of the last year. So we used as bad as. You have to notice, okay, we put the adjective between as and the second one. Also, we can make negative by saying they didn't play as good as they usually do. We are just to make the auxiliary verb of the sentence negative, and we use it in this way. They didn't play as good as they usually do. We have an practice, an exercise here, is also find in your book on page 52. So in this sentence, we have something incorrect. So here we are behind in correcting the sentences. So first one, he is more older than he looks. He is more older than he looks. So you find here we have more and we have the ER. So since we are having the adjective old here, so we are not in need of using more because it is one syllable adjective. So the sentence would be he is older than he looks. He is older than he looks. So we omit more here. Number two, Jessica's as tall than her mother. The sentence would be Jessica's as tall as her mother. So since as followed by an adjective, then with a second as, so we don't need than here. We are going to omit then and say Jessica's as tall as her mother. Number three, what does New York like? It's really exciting. So if you are asking about a description for New York, you're not going to say what does New York like, because it is not does. The sentence would be what is New York like? Is here to be used when we are asking about a description. Number four, trains in London are more crowded. Trains in London are more crowded than in Paris. So he put here that. So this is the incorrect word. We are going to correct it by saying trains in London are more crowded than in Paris. We use than when we want to make a comparative. Number five, Oxford is one of the oldest universities in Europe. So is one of oldest university in Europe. You notice that there's something missing here in this sentence, which is Oxford is one of the oldest. Of the oldest. We put the definite article there before the sentence when we want to make superlative degree. Okay, number six, we have he is not as intelligent than his sister. There's something missing here since we are using as, so we have as here to be added. The sentence would be he is not as intelligent as his sister. Number seven, this is more hard than I expected. You notice here we have the adjective hard and we have more. Hard is one syllable adjective, so we don't need more. We are going to say this is harder than I expected. We are going to use the ER to make the comparative degree. 8, who is the most rich man in the world? Who is the most rich man in the world? You notice that we have rich, the one syllable adjective that is preceded with most, and this is not correct because rich is one syllable adjective. We are going to say who is the richest with the superlative degree man in the world. 9, everything is more cheap in my country. So the same thing, we have more and cheap. One syllable adjective should not be followed by more, but to be added with ER in my country. Cheaper, everything is cheaper in my country. 9, Rome was hotter than I expected. So you notice here we have was hotter than I expected, as we solved the previous one. The similar way here we have Rome was hotter than I expected. So we are not in need of that here, but we are going to use than instead of it. This is found also in your book. The last topic that we are going to talk about is the synonyms and antonyms. With the synonym is a word that means exactly the same as or very nearly the same as. When we want to say something but with different word and we have just to keep the same idea, we are going to use the synonym. Another word in the same language, also for describing something, we are going to use the same language but with different words. Here we have example. When I go to say close is a synonym of shot. We often use synonyms in conversation as we do not want to repeat the same words. Just to avoid being bored, we are going to say synonyms. Look at this example. It's a lovely day today. So here we have the adjective lovely. But what do you think he's going to say? He said, yes, it's really beautiful. So he used beautiful here instead of repeating the same way. So this is the synonym. Antonym is a word that means the opposite. So here we have the opposite of the word of another one. For example, we are going to say bad is antonym of good. We also use antonyms in conversation to avoid repeating words. Look at this example. What an awful meal. He said awful to describe the meal. It was bad. She said, yes, it was not very nice. So she didn't repeat the same sentence or the same word, awful, but she said it was not very nice. And you have just to make a notice that for being more polite, we are not going to describe things as bad as they are. In this way, when he said, what an awful meal, it is a tough expression. But instead of that, we are going just to decrease the amount of being tough. We are going to say, it was not very nice, or it was not very good, or it was not very delicious. Just to lessen the amount of toughness and for being more polite. An exercise here. To complete the conversation using an adjective of similar meaning from the books. So here we have adjectives and we're going to put them in their suitable brackets. Here we have Mary's family is rich. Well, I know her uncle was very. So if we have rich, we're going to think about similar meaning. So we have fed up or generous, brilliant, messy, modern or wealthy. I think wealthy means rich. So we're going to put, well, I know her uncle was very wealthy. Number 2, look at these new buildings. Yes, Paris is much more / than I expected. So you notice here we have new, the adjective new buildings. So the suitable adjective to be used here is modern. It has the same meaning. Number 3, wasn't that film wonderful? So we are talking about the film and we describe it as wonderful. So we're going to say, yes, it was brilliant. Brilliant carries the same meaning of wonderful. Number 4, George doesn't earn much money, but he is so kind. He is, isn't he? He is one of the most / people I know. So we have kind and he doesn't earn much money, so we're going to say generous. With number 5, Anne's bedroom's really untidy again. Notice here the adjective untidy. Is it? I told her it was / yesterday and she promised to clean it. If we have something untidy, it means we have a mess, so we're going to say messy. Number 6, I am bored with this lesson. And actually I'm not bored with this lesson. So I know I am really / with it too. So I'm going to say fed up. It carries the same meaning of bored. So here we have to finish our lecture today, dear students. Thank you for watching and inshallah to see you next lecture. Goodbye.